The champagne flute shattered somewhere behind me as the countdown hit 0. Good, my wife Lauren laughed, clapping once. Now the year can finally start without him. Everyone cheered. Confetti fell. Music surged. And I stood there, coat half on, staring at the front door of my own house. My name is Ethan Caldwell, and 5 minutes earlier, I had kicked my brother-in-law Marcus out into the freezing December night. Not yelled. Not shoved. Just opened the door and said quietly, "You need to leave. Now." Marcus had smiled at me like I was joking. Until I didn't blink. He stormed off, phone already in his hand. I didn't think much of it until my dad called. "Ethan," he whispered, breathless. He followed me. "He's outside my place. He's saying things that don't make sense." I tried to explain that it was New Year's Eve. That Marcus had been drinking. That everything would calm down. Behind me, Lauren raised her glass again. "To boundaries," she announced. "To finally growing a spine." Laughter. Applause. I turned to her. "He went after my dad." She rolled her eyes. "Your dad always exaggerates. Don't ruin the night." That was the moment she pushed me, physically, toward the door. "Go play hero somewhere else," she said. "This party isn't about you." I stepped outside barefoot into the cold, the door slamming shut behind me. And then, the doorbell rang. From inside. What? Slow. Deliberate. And every sound in the house went dead silent. The music cut off so abruptly it felt like someone had pulled the plug on the night itself. From the porch, I watched through the glass as Lauren froze mid-smile, her champagne flute hovering inches from her lips. Someone near the kitchen laughed nervously, like this was a prank, confetti still clinging to their hair, midnight barely a minute old. The doorbell rang again. This time sharper. I knocked once from the outside. "Lauren," I called. "Just open the door." She didn't look at me. She looked at the doorbell camera screen mounted by the hallway mirror. Her face drained of color. I saw it from the porch, the subtle shift, the way her shoulders stiffened. She whispered something to her friends. No one cheered now. No one laughed. She cracked the door open just enough to step into the doorway, blocking my view inside. Cold air rushed past her like it was being sucked into the house. "Why are you still here?" she hissed. "Who's at the door?" I asked. She swallowed. "Nobody you need to worry about." That's when my phone buzzed again. "Dad." I answered without breaking eye contact with her. "He's gone," my dad said, voice shaking. "But he wasn't alone, Ethan. He brought someone. Said you'd understand when you saw him." Before I could ask who, Lauren's hand tightened around the door frame. "Just leave," she said, quieter now. Not angry. Afraid. "Please." Behind her, I heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate, moving toward the entryway. And then a voice I hadn't heard in over 10 years said my name. Not angry. Not loud. Just close. "Ethan," it said, "we need to talk." My stomach dropped, not from fear but from recognition. Because some ghosts don't knock. They wait to be invited. The door opened wider before Lauren could stop it. The man standing there wasn't Marcus. He was taller. Older. A wool coat dusted with snow, hands folded calmly like he was waiting for a bus instead of standing in the wreckage of my marriage. His hair was grayer than I remembered, his face carved with lines that didn't soften his eyes. My father stepped into view behind him, breath fogging, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. "Dad," I said. He didn't answer me. He looked at the man instead. "This is Robert Hale," the man said, extending his hand to me. "I was hoping we'd meet again under better circumstances." I didn't take his hand. Robert Hale. The name hit me like a scent from another life. Ink, dust, old wood shelves. A man who once sat across from my dad at a kitchen table, telling him everything would be handled quietly. Lauren's voice cut in. "Ethan, who is this?" Robert glanced at her, then back to me. "Your wife doesn't know," he said gently. That tracks. I felt heat rise in my chest, not anger. Shame. The kind that crawls. Marcus's voice echoed in my head now. The way he'd been smiling earlier. The way he'd kept saying, "You think you're the only one with leverage?" Robert stepped inside without being invited. Guests parted instinctively like they could feel the weight he carried. "I'm here," he said, "because your brother-in-law made a call he shouldn't have." Lauren turned to me, eyes sharp. "What did you do?" I looked at my father. Then at the man from my past. And realized the night wasn't about Marcus anymore. It was about something I'd buried, and someone who'd finally dug it up. Robert removed his coat slowly, folding it over his arm like he planned to stay a while. The room smelled like spilled champagne and pine from the Christmas tree, sweet and sharp at the same time. My guests stood frozen, unsure whether to pretend this was normal or escape while they still could. Lauren crossed her arms. "You don't get to walk into my house and scare people," she snapped. Robert nodded politely. "You're right. That's my mistake." Then he turned to me. "Ethan, your brother-in-law told me you've been presenting yourself as uncomplicated." My dad cleared his throat. "I told him not to come." "You always do," Robert said, not unkindly. I felt the familiar tightening in my jaw, the old reflex. Avoid. Deflect. Smile. Lauren looked between us. "What is he talking about?" I opened my mouth. Closed it. 10 years ago, I'd signed papers I barely understood so my dad wouldn't lose everything after a failed development deal. Robert Hale had made sure it stayed off records that mattered, at a cost I never fully asked about. "I paid it back," I said finally. "Every cent." Robert met my eyes. "Money, yes." Silence stretched. Marcus had known. Somehow. And instead of using it to hurt me directly, he'd used it to summon this moment, this reckoning, like lighting a fuse and walking away. Lauren's voice softened, dangerous now. "Ethan, what didn't you tell me?" I looked at her, really looked. The woman who just celebrated my exile minutes earlier. The woman who loved my clean version. "I didn't tell you," I said, because I wanted to believe I'd outgrown it. Robert picked up his coat again. "I didn't come to collect," he said. "I came to return something." He reached into the pocket and pulled out an envelope with my name, written in my father's handwriting. The envelope felt heavier than it looked. I took it from Robert without opening it, my thumb tracing the crease like it might explain everything on its own. My dad wouldn't meet my eyes. He stared at the floor the way he used to when he'd broken something he couldn't fix. Lauren exhaled sharply. "Open it." Robert stepped back, giving us space. "It was meant for you if I ever showed up again," he said. "Your father insisted." I slid a finger under the flap. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No legal language. No signatures. Just my dad's handwriting, uneven, rushed. "Ethan, I told you the debt was yours because I was afraid you'd say no. The truth is, it never was." My chest tightened. "I asked Robert to put everything in your name so I could sleep at night. You were still a kid. You didn't deserve that weight. I'm sorry." The room blurred around the edges. Lauren read over my shoulder. Her hand dropped from my arm like she'd touched something hot. "So you lied," she said, "to me, to him, to the air." "I didn't know," I said, and hated how small it sounded. Robert cleared his throat. "There's more." I looked up. He nodded toward the hallway. "Your brother-in-law didn't just call me. He tried to sell the story. Said your wife would back him." Lauren's head snapped up. "What?" Robert met her gaze evenly. "He told me you'd already agreed it was time Ethan faced consequences." The room felt colder than the porch ever had. And for the first time that night, Lauren didn't look angry. She looked exposed. Lauren laughed once, short, sharp, brittle. "That's not what I meant," she said, looking around at the guests like they were a jury she could still charm. "Marcus twists things. Everyone knows that." No one nodded. No one spoke. Robert checked his watch, not impatient, measured. "He was very clear," he said. "He said you were tired of carrying Ethan's history." She turned on me then. "You should have told me," she said, voice rising. "I married you thinking I knew who you were." I felt something quiet settle in my chest. Not anger. Clarity. "You pushed me out of the house," I said. "Barefoot. You celebrated." "That was different," she snapped. "That was about control." The word hung there naked. My dad finally stepped forward. "Lauren," he said softly, "Ethan has spent 10 years cleaning up my mess. He never once blamed me." She didn't look at him. Robert picked up his coat. "Marcus won't be a problem anymore," he said. "Once I told him the debt was never Ethan's, he lost interest." "Then why come?" I asked. Robert paused at the door. "Because you deserved the truth in a room full of witnesses." He left. The door closed gently behind him. Lauren stared at the empty space, then at me. "So what now?" I looked around, at the spilled champagne, the frozen smiles, the house that no longer felt like mine. "I'm done pretending," I said. And for the first time all night, I walked away on my own terms. The party dissolved fast after that. People avoided my eyes as they grabbed coats, murmuring apologies that weren't really for me. The house emptied in pieces, laughter replaced by the soft click of the door again and again, until only the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking wall clock remained. Lauren sat on the edge of the couch, heels kicked off, makeup smudged beneath her eyes. She looked smaller without an audience. "So that's it?" she asked. You're just leaving? I picked up my coat from the chair where I dropped it earlier. You already decided that for me, I said. I just finally agreed. She stood, arms wrapping around herself. I was scared, she said. I didn't want to be tied to something messy. I nodded. I know. That's why you liked the version of me that stayed quiet. Outside the cold felt honest. My dad waited by his car, hands shoved deep in his pockets. He looked up when he saw me. I should have told you sooner, he said. Yeah, I replied. You should have. We stood there in silence, breath fogging the air, fireworks cracking faintly in the distance. Celebrations happening somewhere else for other people. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus, unsent drafts stacked like confessions. Apologies. Excuses. Fear. I didn't reply. Instead, I looked at my dad and said, "Let's go get coffee." And for the first time in years, the weight I'd been carrying wasn't coming with me. The diner was almost empty, vinyl booths, burnt coffee, a flickering neon sign buzzing like it was tired too. My dad sat across from me, hands wrapped around a mug he hadn't touched. He kept looking at me like he was afraid I might disappear if he blinked. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. I know, I replied. And I meant it. The waitress refilled our cups without asking. Steam curled up between us, softening the sharpest edges of the night. Outside, snow drifted down in slow, patient flakes, covering everything evenly, good choices, bad ones, all of it. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Lauren. I didn't think you'd actually leave. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then turned it face down on the table. I spent years thinking being strong meant staying, I said. Turns out it just meant being honest. My dad nodded, eyes wet. You were always better at that than me. When we stood to leave, he put a hand on my shoulder, light, careful, like he was asking permission. I let it stay. Back in the parking lot, the cold didn't bite anymore. It just existed. I didn't know what my life would look like tomorrow. I didn't know where I'd live, or who I'd be without the roles I'd been playing. But for the first time, the future felt like something opening, not closing. And as we drove off into the quiet, I realized something simple and true. Some doors don't end stories. They return them to the people who were meant to walk through next.